Hello, my name is Emma, and I am very excited today because I am going to teach you how you can make grammar fun. That's right, grammar can be fun. You might not believe me because I know grammar, English grammar specifically, makes a lot of students feel like this. Okay, a lot of students, when they learn English grammar, like the present perfect, the past continuous, the future simple, they feel very stressed and they feel very bad because grammar can sometimes be boring and it can sometimes be difficult. Okay, so if this is how you feel about grammar, if you find it really hard, or maybe you love grammar, but you want to find another way to learn grammar, this video is for you. So, my tip today is that one of the best ways to learn grammar is by using songs and music. And why is this? Well, I want you to think, when you listen to music, a lot of the times you probably feel like this. Music makes people feel very happy. So while grammar might make you feel bored or you might find it difficult, music can make you feel happy. So by combining or putting together music and grammar, you can have a fun learning experience. Okay, so let me first talk about why it's good to use music when you're learning grammar, and then I'm going to talk about how you can use music to learn grammar, and some of my favorite songs you can use to do this. Okay, so let's get started. So when we use a song, songs have a lot of great grammar points in them, okay? If you've ever heard the Bare Naked Ladies, they have a great song that we'll talk a little bit about later, called If I Had $1 Million. This song is wonderful for learning the second conditional. Okay, we have songs that are great for learning the present perfect, songs that are great for learning the past tense. And I'm going to talk about these songs and how you can use them. But if you think about it, why can these songs really help you learn grammar? Well, first of all, when you use music, okay, and you sing a song, when you sing, you're actually using a different part of your brain than you do when you speak. And by using a different part of your brain, it can actually help you remember things, such as grammar or such as different words in the song. So using singing can help you remember. If you think about stress, a lot of the times when you're in English class and learning grammar, you might feel stressed. Stress is bad for learning. Music can help you feel less stress, so it can lower stress. And by doing this, music can actually increase learning. It can make learning go up, okay? You can learn a lot more when you're not stressed. Music has a lot of repetition. If you think about songs, you often hear the same lyrics again and again in the chorus. This repetition is good for memory. There are a lot of fun activities you can do when you're using music, and you can learn a lot about a person's culture from the music. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit of Canadian culture with you today when I talk about some Canadian bands you can use when you're learning grammar. And finally, I have a lot of favorite songs I love to use with my classes for grammar, so I'm going to share these with you. So these are some of the reasons why music can be so helpful with learning grammar. Now let's learn how we can use music. Okay, so the first step is thinking about what kind of grammar do you want to practice, okay? So maybe in your English class, you're learning about the second conditional. Maybe you're not in English class, but you just want to learn grammar on your own, and that's okay too. So I'm just going to give you some examples, and there's many other examples, but some examples of songs you can use when you're learning these different points of grammar, okay? So the first example I'm going to give is if you're learning what we call the simple present, okay? So that's sentences like, I run, I eat, I eat a hamburger, I read a book. These are all examples of the simple present tense. And so that has to do with what's happening now. So two great songs for practicing the simple present tense. The first one is a really sad song by Marianne Faithfull, and it's called As Tears Go By, okay? So what you can do is if you want to practice using any of these songs, you can go on YouTube and listen to them and just type in As Tears Go By. You can also check out Jewel's song, You Were Meant for Me. This is another great song you can use when practicing grammar from the simple present tense. Okay. In terms of simple past tense, so simple past is when you have an ed ending. So for example, I looked at the store, I bought some ice cream. Yesterday, I did my homework. These are all examples of the simple past tense, okay? So sometimes we have regular simple past, which is ed endings, and sometimes we have irregular endings. Now, if this is confusing to you, that's okay. The main point is if you're talking about the past, you can listen to these songs for grammar points. We have Yesterday by the Beatles, which is a great song when you're learning about the past tense, because the Beatles tend to sing very slow, so you can really hear the words, and you can really hear the grammar in this song. And it's about yesterday, so you know it's about the past. There's also another song by Andy Williams called Yesterday When I Was Young, or at least Andy Williams sings it. There's different versions. But Yesterday When I Was Young is another great song when you're looking at the past tense. If you're looking at the past continuous tense, Last Kiss by Pearl Jam is a wonderful song for this one. In terms of the simple future, so this is when we use the word will, and we talk about the future. You can use the Shirelles or Amy Winehouse. Will you still love me tomorrow? That's an excellent song for this tense. Or if you like the Beatles, you can also use When I'm 64, where they talk about what they're going to do in the future when they're 64. If you like, maybe other types of music, the Proclaimers has a great song called I Will Walk 500 Miles. So you can check that song out too. That has a lot of this tense in it. For students looking to learn more about the present perfect, and this is always a really challenging tense for students, this is when we say things like have you ever, I have never, I have eaten an apple before. Okay, so this tense is really challenging. Some great songs for it are Have You Ever Seen the Rain? Okay, so there's different versions of this song. You can listen to the one from Rod Stewart or any other musician who sings this, but Have You Ever Seen the Rain is great for this tense. You can also check out U2's I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. This is another great song for the present perfect. If you're learning the second conditional, I'm going to talk about a song to help you with that in a moment, but some other songs are If I Were a Boy by Beyonce, If I Fell in Love by the Beatles, and finally, if you're learning should have, like, something that you regret, you can use Bruno Mars, I Should Have Bought You Flowers. Okay, so these are just some examples of great songs you can use to help you learn English grammar. Now I'm going to show you how you can use a specific song to kind of get an idea of activities you can do. Okay, so a song that I really like using when teaching the second conditional, and the second conditional is if I had $1 million, I'd be rich. That's an example. So a song I really like using for teaching the second conditional is a song by a Canadian band, and I'm Canadian, so I like Canadian bands. And this Canadian band is called the Bare Naked Ladies, okay? So the song they sing is called If I Had $1 Million, okay? You can YouTube it and find the song and, listen to it. And in the comments, you can tell me what you think of this song, okay? Some students love it. Some students, maybe they're not as big of a fan of it, but it's a great song for learning the second conditional. Okay, so how can you use this song if you want to learn grammar? Well, let's look at some ideas for activities you can do. So the first thing I would suggest is just listen to the song. Listen to it a couple of times and, think about the song, listen for the grammar. Is there anything you can hear about the second conditional? Maybe before listening to the song, you can even look up what the second conditional is if you don't know that grammar yet. Okay, and then you can just listen to it. The next thing you can do is look for the lyrics. You can Google the lyrics of the song or find them on YouTube and try to find examples of the grammar. So in this case, you can look for examples of the second conditional. So I've just written out some lyrics from the song here. There's a lot of examples of the second conditional in the song, but for example, if I had $1 million, I'd buy you a house. If I had $1 million, I'd buy furniture for your house, like a Chesterfield or an ottoman. So these are lyrics from the song. And so I'd look at them and I try to think, okay, where is the second conditional in this song? Well, when we talk about the second conditional, we're talking about a sentence that has the word if in it. Okay, so just looking, oh, here's if. Okay, so 2 examples. It also has would in it, or the contraction of would, which is in this case, I would becomes I'd. So this is an example of part of the second conditional. Okay, and then I can look at, what goes with if, what tense. So in this case, if I had $1 million, I'd buy you a house. If I had $1 million, I'd buy furniture for your house. So look for the grammar, look for examples of it. And if this is hard for you, maybe it's because you haven't learned the second conditional yet. So I recommend studying the second conditional first and then using this as a guide. So after you find examples of the grammatical tense you want to study, then you can think about, why are they using this tense? Okay, why are they using the second conditional here? What does it mean? In this case, when you see if I had and I'd buy, what they're saying using the second conditional is they're talking about an imaginary situation. So something that's not true. The singer does not have $1 million, but he's imagining, what would life be like if I did have $1 million? And what would I do? Okay, so we use the second conditional to talk about an imaginary situation, something that's not true, but we want to imagine what we would do if it was true. So in this case, this person, if they had $1 million, they do not have $1 million, but if they did, they would buy you a house, okay? And if they had $1 million, they would also buy furniture for your house. So they're using this to show they don't have $1 million, but if they did, this is what they would do. The next thing you can do after you think about why they use this tense is you can actually sing the song, okay? So you can find a copy of the lyrics and sing along, okay? Sing it until you remember the words. And then after you do that, you can test yourself, okay? Cover up some words in the song. So for example, when I sing it, and I cover this up so I can't read it, I have to try to remember, what was the word they used there? What verb tense was it in? Okay. If I had. So you can test yourself and practice singing the song by covering up the verbs and seeing if you can remember the verbs they use and the tenses they use. Okay. The final thing you can do as a fun activity is you can actually make your own lyrics with the grammar you're interested in. So if you're practicing the second conditional, you can change this. If I had $1 million, maybe you can change it to, if I had a dog. Okay, if I had a dog, what's something I can say about if I had a dog? Maybe I'd walk it. So you can change the lyrics to maybe something that you might say in everyday life. And this can help you practice using the second conditional. So change the lyrics and sing your own lyrics to the song and see how that goes. Okay? So these are just some ways you can use music when learning grammar. And there's many other ways to use it. These are just some suggestions. I hope you check out the songs I recommended today. And I also hope that you check out or you write in our comments section songs you use when you're learning grammar. Maybe people who watch can share some ideas they have about using music when learning different grammar points. Okay. I'd also like to invite you to check out our website at www.ingvid.com. There you can do a quiz to practice what you've learned in this video. You can also subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of different resources on grammar, as well as vocabulary, slang, business English, writing, and a whole bunch of other resources. So check that out. Until next time, take care, and thanks for watching.